nobody here has a problem. But all of us know that all of us here, perhaps with few, if any, exceptions, have some kind of a problem. Well, I believe that the pulpit has as its function the practical helpfulness of human beings. And I'd like to suggest a few ways in which you can handle a problem successfully. And you have taken the first step in doing it. Everybody here has taken the first step in handling your problem successfully. And what is that first step? You have come to church. This is the place to handle a problem and to handle it right. One of the greatest earth-moving manufacturers that this country ever had, a man by the name of Letourneau, once told me that the church is the place of the solved problem. I'd never heard it described that way before, but remembering all the people I've known who had problems solved in the church, I can accept his definition. This was back during the war days, and he was commissioned by the United States government to produce a huge, very complex earth-moving machine for the use of the military forces, and a time limit was put upon its production. He got his experts together. They'd produced many big earth-moving machines, but never one of this size or complexity. And they simply couldn't get the hang of it. They had meeting after meeting, but nobody could come up with the ultimate design that would produce the required machine. So Mr. Letourneau called a meeting in New York City of all the earth-moving manufacturing engineers he could find. They met Friday morning, all day Friday, all day Saturday, up until Saturday night. And one of them said, well, boys, we'll have to go back at it again tomorrow morning. Mr. Letourneau said, no, on Sunday I go to church. But they said, you've got to have this by Monday morning. He said, I tell you, I go to church on Sunday. Now, you fellows can stay here and fool around with this if you want to, but I advise you all to go to church. And I'm going down, he said, to Marble Collegiate Church. And I'm going to put the problem on the back burner of my mind and let it simmer there. And I'm going to spend Sunday morning talking to God and the Lord Jesus Christ. So he came to church. He sat down here about 6 feet, 6 pews from the front, he told me. All of a sudden, during the service, clear and distinct, perfectly in outline, the solution to his problem lay exposed in his mind. He at once knew this was the solution. He grabbed one of the church calendars. He had no other paper. And he drew a picture of the design that was necessary and rushed back to the hotel after the service. And they were still tearing their hair. And he said, here is the solution to your problem. You see, the book of Proverbs says, happy is the man who findeth wisdom, and the man who gets understanding. Now, do you realize that it was just 100 years ago that electric light up there was invented? on the 21st of October, 1879, over at Menlo Park, New Jersey, a man named Thomas A. Edison and his associates sat looking at a little pale flame on a filament. They watched it all day and all night. And finally Edison said, "The electrical age is here." He said, "I'm going to make electricity so cheap that only the rich can buy candles." Now, I never did meet Mr. Edison. He was a little ahead of my time. But I did know Mrs. Edison and his son, the late Governor Charles Edison of New Jersey. And I often visited in the Edison home. And Ms. Edison told me one time that she said, "I was awestruck by my husband." And, well, she had a reason to be, because he filed more inventive patents with the United States Patent Office than any other man who ever lived in the United States. And there were times when he filed 2 a week. He discovered not only electricity, but the phonograph, the telephone transmitter, and hundreds of other things that have created jobs in this country. The electrical industry alone is responsible for 1 job out of every 5 in the United States. And it was discovered by this one man. And she said to him once, "Tell me, where do you get your ideas to solve your problems?" She said he had a wonderful smile. And with a smile, he just raised his hand and pointed upward. "That's where they come from," he said. So if you have a problem here today, put it on the back burner of your mind. Quit struggling with it. And just let it go and let God take it over. And it could very well be that the minute you leave this church, you'll have your answer. Or the answer will come. All right, to get back to the subject, how do you handle a problem? First thing is to cool it. Take it easy. Which I'm about to do myself. You see, when you get the surface of the mind disturbed by anxiety or fear or nervousness, you block off the insights that come up from the deeper levels. One of the greatest psychiatrists in the history of this country says that God presides in the subconscious, way down deep here. And wherever God presides, you get the answer to your problem. So quietness is basic as a necessity in solving a problem. You cannot solve a problem from an emotional reaction. Only from an intellectual reaction. Cool, dispassionate, intellectual, prayerful, spiritual thought will handle any situation, any problem. Now, the other night, I was the speaker at a dinner in Anderson, Indiana, honoring one of the greatest baseball pitchers of our time, an old friend of mine. Carl Erskine used to pitch for the Dodgers when they were in Brooklyn. He had for a long time the record of strikeouts in a World Series, 14 strikeouts. It was later taken by Sandy Koufax and still later by another pitcher whom I don't recall. But Carl, in his time, 20 years ago, was one of the greatest pitchers in the big leagues. And he is a very religious boy. He says he was in a crucial game. Now, having listened to many sports broadcasts, all games are crucial games.